Welcome to the channel. Hey there, glad you found your way here. If this is your first time, make sure to subscribe and share this video. It really helps the channel grow. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're tuning in from. I read every single one. Let's dive right in. My name is Nathan Cole. For over 16 years, I worked as a digital forensic analyst. My job was to track down cyber attacks, uncover financial scams, and sit in courtrooms explaining evidence most lawyers couldn't even begin to understand. 3 years ago, I left that life behind and started my own private consultancy firm. These days, my clients are mostly corporate, wealthy, discreet, and far less complicated. I've always trusted data more than words. People lie. Data doesn't. The first crack. I'd been with my wife Lena for nearly 10 years. She owned a well-known art gallery. Sleek, modern, profitable, with a pristine public image. We had a 7-year-old son, Ethan, bright and quiet, with an engineer's mind even at his young age. From the outside, we looked like the perfect little family, the kind you'd see in Instagram ads making people feel just a bit envious. Then it started. Ironically, it wasn't Lena who raised the first alarm. It started with my weekly routine checkup on our home server. A minor error popped up. Something off in the smart home's backup logs. Nothing major, but I don't like loose threads. Digging in deeper, I found something odd in the smart lock's activity history. The front door had been manually unlocked twice, both on days when I was scheduled to be across town for client meetings. In my line of work, red flags rarely come flashing. They're subtle at first, barely noticeable until you know what normal looks like. I cross-referenced the timestamps. Pattern emerged. Every Wednesday, shortly after 2 p.m., right when Lena usually said she had design meetings at the gallery, I decided to dig deeper. Setting the trap. I installed a silent monitoring script on our guest Wi-Fi. Nothing invasive, just a passive tool logging any devices that connected while I wasn't home. Sure enough, the following Wednesday, while I was working in a different city, a device named VXR32 pinged the network. 2 minutes later, Lena texted me. "Hey, how's your day going? Traffic okay?" I didn't respond. I logged the device's MAC address, IP, and connection details. Everything was archived. That evening, she was her usual self, warm, asking about my work, smiling when I mentioned Ethan had been curious about coding. She had no clue. She didn't just have secrets. She thought I was too distracted to notice. The other man. Tracing the VXR32 device led me to a laptop registered to a man named Victor Graham, an architect. Lena had casually mentioned him once, said he was consulting for a gallery expansion. I hadn't given it much thought until now. Victor had an impressive resume. Top university degrees, a long client list, but nothing tied him to Lena, apart from a single invoice. Then I found a photo from a fundraiser 2 months earlier. Lena in a navy dress I remembered complimenting, standing beside Victor. She'd never mentioned going to that event. The real scheme. Over the next month I kept a low profile. No new tools. I simply adjusted the motion sensors to send alerts to my phone and reactivated facial recognition on our smart lock. They were careful. No text, no calls, no digital footprints. But Victor used an encrypted cloud storage service. I mirrored Lena's tablet by exploiting an overlooked backup password. One morning I struck gold. Most files were architectural plans. But one was different. A handwritten note, scanned and saved as a PDF. "He's predictable. Gone every Wednesday. We just need to lock down the story. He won't resist. He's sentimental. You get the gallery. Take the house. He'll disappear." I read it again. And again. 4 times. This wasn't just an affair. It was a blueprint. A cold, calculated plan to erase me and Ethan from Lena's life. Calling in reinforcements. That night, she came home like nothing had happened. Complaining about a difficult client. Laughing. Kissing me. But inside I was already building my next move. I needed more than proof. I needed leverage. That's where Rachel Vega came in. Rachel and I had worked together back in my federal days. Now she was a top-tier private investigator with a reputation for precision and silence. We met at a quiet diner on the edge of town. She didn't bother with small talk. "What's the job?" "My wife's planning to erase me," I said. "Name?" "Victor Graham. Architect." "On paper." She simply nodded. "Exposure?" "No. I want him tracked. Quietly. I need everything." "Give me 2 days," she said. The trap tightens. By Saturday, I had Victor's entire history. He wasn't just an architect. He was running 3 shell companies laundering money through fake real estate deals in Canada and Florida. No criminal charges yet, but the evidence was overwhelming. Got worse. Lena's art gallery had been quietly funneling money through one of Victor's shell companies under the guise of renovation consulting. Whether Lena knew or not didn't matter anymore. Legally, she was part of it. I pulled out our prenup, ironclad and signed before our marriage. Hidden in the fine print was a clause that voided any protections if either partner was caught in fraud or financial misconduct. I froze our joint assets under a private trust. She wouldn't even know until it was too late. Her first strike. Then came her move. Tuesday morning, I received a thick envelope from her lawyer, Greg Wallace, infamous for turning divorce cases into public bloodbaths. Inside were accusations, emotional abuse, psychological cruelty, and emergency custody filings for Ethan. All false, but she wasn't aiming for truth. She wanted first blood in court. I called my attorney, sent him everything, and prepared my counterstrike. A showdown. That night I walked in calmly. Lena, lounging on the couch, greeted me like nothing had happened. "I assume you read it," she asked coolly. I did. "It's not personal, Nathan. It's just the truth. You've been emotionally absent for years. Ethan needs stability." I smiled faintly. "You're right," I said. "The first story the judge hears always sticks." He smirked. "But it won't be your story," I added. Her confidence faltered. The next morning I filed for divorce, demanded full custody, and submitted the mountain of evidence I'd gathered. That evening I handed her the file. Photos, financial trails, recorded logs, everything. "You hacked me," she whispered. "No," I said. "You left the door wide open. This won't hold up in court." "It doesn't have to," I said. "Rachel's already passed it to federal investigators. They're not after you, but they're coming for Victor." By Thursday, her accounts were locked. The gallery came under federal review. Victor fled the country. Last spotted heading toward Morocco under an alias. Then, for the first time, Lena called. I let it ring. She emailed minutes later. "Private resolution. Let's talk." I agreed, but only at her lawyer's office. She looked shattered when we met. "You win," she said, slumping into the chair. "I'm not here to win. I'm here to protect Ethan." I offered her one option. Full custody to me, supervised visits for her. She protested, but I wasn't bargaining. She signed the papers. As we left, she asked to speak privately. In a quiet room, she finally asked, "What went wrong?" "You did," I answered. And I stopped ignoring it. She sighed. "You were never easy, Nathan. Everything had to be precise. I felt like a guest in your life. And that justified betrayal." Yes. "No," she admitted. "But it explains it." She confessed she never really loved me. She respected me but always felt like she was walking on eggshells. Victor gave her adrenaline. I gave her structure. "You always expected me to fail," she said. "No," I replied. "I just prepared for the possibility." She whispered, "Do you hate me?" "No," I said. "I forgave you already. That's why you're walking out with your freedom." She asked about Ethan. "I'll tell him his mother needed time," I said. "He'll decide the rest someday." She looked at me with quiet defeat. "You think you won." "I didn't win," I said. "I outlasted you." She stared, then turned away. "You'll be alone." "I can live with that," I said and walked out. 3 months later, the house was quiet again, but peaceful this time. Ethan adjusted quickly. Kids know where they're safe. Lena's gallery was sold off. Her name erased. She didn't fight for custody. Last I heard, she was renting a modest apartment, working part-time at a community college. Victor. Caught overseas. Fake IDs. Multiple passports. He'd left Lena behind long before she knew she was just another pawn. One afternoon, I sat watching Ethan play outside when my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later I listened. A woman's voice. Mr. Cole, my name is Deborah Hughes. I believe my husband is planning to vanish. With our children. I think he's done this before. I picked up a pen. Outside, Ethan's laughter carried through the air. Bright, pure, untouchable. I hit call back. Start from the beginning, I said. If you've stayed with me this long, thank you. Drop your thoughts below. What would you have done in my shoes? And if you enjoyed this story, there are plenty more on my channel. Until next time, stay sharp.